My name is Daryl from Podcast.co, and in this video, we're going to go through 7 different ways you can repurpose your episodes to get as much value as you can out of your podcasts. But before we dive in, let's define what we're talking about here. Repurposing simply means converting your episodes into different formats to reach new potential listeners. That could include video, text, imagery, and more. Doing so breathes new life into your content and puts it in the hands of people who otherwise might never have found your show. If all you're doing to promote your latest episodes is posting a link to your social media channels, you're seriously limiting your potential for growth. In the ongoing war for attention online, you need to do much more than that to make people sit up and take notice. That's why diversifying how you share your podcast content can do wonders for your show. Whether your objective is to get more listeners, strengthen your brand, or grow your business. So with that said, let's look at 7 different ways that you can repurpose your content to get the most out of every episode that you publish. The first method is to create video content. There's a few different ways to create video content from a podcast episode, but the easiest way is to simply video yourself whilst recording, whether it's an interview or a solo episode. You may not want to share the entire video, and that's understandable. After all, podcasting is still primarily an audio-first medium, but you can take a full recording and break up into short video snippets and teasers to share on social media. A 30-second clip of an interesting discussion point is a lot more engaging than a link and text saying, "New episode out now." Having access to associated video files for each episode gives you much more flexibility when it comes to promotion. And don't worry, there's no need to buy state-of-the-art equipment for this. You can use the camera on your smartphone, a webcam, or a trusted digital camera propped on top of a stack of books. Just make sure to consider your lighting situation before you hit record. Always try and record in a room with big windows and good natural lighting. Failing that, you can get yourself a basic ring light for less than $50 on Amazon to record wherever you need to. Another option is to create a short video about each podcast episode. So, instead of filming the podcast episode itself, jump on camera after the recording and film a video letting people know what your latest episode is all about. This can then be uploaded to your social media channels to help get the word out more effectively. But if you really don't want to be on camera, you can still repurpose your podcast episode into video. For example, you can create an audiogram, but we'll get into more detail on that one later. Next up, you can create a series of promotional images for each episode. If you have guests on your show, the easiest way to do this is to take a few of their wise words from the interview and create a quote graphic. You've probably seen plenty of these published by other podcasters. Like video, images stand out much more on social media feeds and encourage people to stop scrolling. But do keep in mind that different platforms have different dimensions for images. So posting the same image on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn doesn't always look good. Be sure to create images fit for the platform. The third way of repurposing is to produce a transcript. A transcript instantly makes your audio content much more accessible. It will likely appeal to people who are hard of hearing, those who aren't in an environment where they can listen to your podcast, or those who simply prefer reading to listening. Of course, we're not suggesting that you sit down and type up your entire episode word for word. That could take hours and hours. Thankfully, there are automated services that can create full episode transcripts in seconds. For example, if you host your show with us at Podcast.co, you can create an episode transcript within a single click. All you need to do then is review the text and tidy up any errors or mistakes. Automated transcripts will never be 100% accurate, but they do save huge amounts of time. Once you have your transcript, you can offer it as a download or include it as a searchable text on your website. You can even repurpose your transcript into a blog post, an ebook, or use it as a resource for social media content. For example, it's much easier to find tweetable quotes from a podcast episode if you have a transcript. You don't have to re-listen to your podcast multiple times. That said, it's important to note that publishing raw transcripts will do very little to help your organic SEO, as transcripts are written how we speak, and we don't tend to speak in the way that we'd usually write quality content. For that reason, raw transcripts rank poorly in search algorithms. They need to be edited into a coherent blog post if you want to rank on Google. So, logically, following on from that, the fourth way of repurposing is to create long-form articles. Search engines love long-form quality content. You can repurpose your episode into an article by taking the main points discussed in the show and wordsmithing them into a standalone blog post. If you had your episode converted into a transcript, you can rely heavily on it to write your post. Of course, you shouldn't copy your original transcript word for word, but you can use it to help plan, format, and write a high-quality article to share on your website, LinkedIn, Medium, or as a guest article on another website or publication. To help drive traffic to your content, you've got to optimize your post by making sure you've included relevant keywords you'd like the post to rank for. For best results, narrow your focus down to 1 or 2 target keywords per blog post. Any more than that, and it will likely hurt your performance on search engines. Next up, as mentioned previously, you can create audiograms from your episodes. Audiograms are static images made into short videos by placing audio waveforms and transcriptions over them. Because they stand out, they've been shown to generate 5 times more click-through traffic than static posts. And you don't need to be a tech wizard to create them either. Purpose-built tools like Headliner and Wave allow you to quickly convert short highlight clips from your podcast episode into eye-catching videos. You can get really creative with your audiograms and customize them in a way that reflects your business or your personal brand. And at this point, they've become a standard feature within the podcast industry. And if you are hosting with Podcast.co, then you do get access to Headliner as a standard, so you can create audiograms without any extra cost. The 6th method of repurposing is to host live streams. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn all have built-in live stream functionality. So you can use that to your advantage. But live streaming episodes as you record them is an understandably intimidating process. So it's not good for most shows. It leaves no room for error, and you can't edit out any mistakes or hiccups. So for that reason, it's generally better to repurpose the topic of your latest episode into a separate live stream. That way you're not recording your podcast at the same time, but rather creating totally different live stream content that is based on the same topic. And this is a really fun way to get people to engage with you, because you can host a Q&A after. You can even bring in guests onto your live stream session. You can do this a few days or maybe a week after the podcast episode is published, giving listeners a chance to listen to it first. On the episode itself, invite listeners to hang out with you live to discuss the topic in more detail. This is a great way to gain valuable feedback, engage with your audience, and increase your credibility too. Giving people the chance to watch and engage with you in the moment helps to build a connection with your audience, and they can connect with each other too. This is a win-win because you build your community around your podcast. Many of the most successful podcasts have strong communities associated with them. The final way of repurposing that we'll cover today is downloadable content, or content upgrades. If you want to grow your email list, an enticing content upgrade could be just what you need. Upgrades like this are often called lead magnets. The idea is to offer something of value to your audience in exchange for their email address. Some great content upgrade ideas include checklists, infographics, a quick list of tools or resources, quick step-by-step guides in your field of expertise, templates, free courses, challenges, and other bonus content that your audience will love. But whatever the upgrade is, simply find a way to pair it with your episode and direct your listeners to your website so they can download their copy during your intro and outro segments. And there it is, 7 different ideas to get your podcast repurposing juices flowing. Now, you don't have to try them all, and I would definitely recommend taking one at a time. Anyway, be sure to focus on approaches that speak to who your audience is and where they hang out. Observe what your audience engage with and do more of the same. If you get into the practice of squeezing the value out of each podcast episode, you'll see your audience grow. It can be so very tempting to push out episode after episode without doing any repurposing. But remember, your job as a podcaster isn't to just record your episode, it's also to make sure that people know they exist. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please do consider hitting that like button. And if you've got any questions about repurposing, drop them down below. And lastly, we do publish a new episode of the Podcast Lab series every week, so you can subscribe to make sure that you catch all the latest tips and guides on how to create audio worth listening to. And we'll see you next time.
Want to skip the learning curve and launch a top-tier podcast right off the bat? Then let the professionals handle it for you. At Podcast.co, we offer an all-in-one production service for brands, artists, and thought leaders, and we take care of every single step, from branding and editing to marketing and distribution, and the results speak for themselves. Send an email to david@podcast.co today to learn about how we can work together.